When I visited Nova Scotia 2 months ago, it never dawned on me that it was more expensive there than here in Toronto. I went to the supermarket right after I got there from the airport and I spent $94 for this much stuff. I don't want you to be surprised if you decide to move to another province or visit another province. So let us do a detailed breakdown of the cost of living per province. Things like rent, your utilities, gas, your bus pass, and I bet you didn't think about tax. I didn't think about that when I was in Nova Scotia. And right at the end, you are going to see which province is the most expensive to live in and which one is the cheapest. Let's go. All right, everybody has to find somewhere to live, so let's talk about rent first. Rent per province. So we're in Ontario, the two major cities are Toronto and Ottawa. So rent in Toronto for a 1-bedroom is $2,365 per month. And for a 3-bedroom, it's about $3,170 per month. In Ottawa, it's a bit cheaper, $1,893 per month and $2,492 for a 2-bedroom in Ottawa. In Nova Scotia, in Halifax, it's about $2,108 for a 1-bedroom. And for a 2-bedroom, it's about $2,933. Ontario not looking so bad today. Or Ottawa, rather. Charlottetown is in PEI, Prince Edward Island, and that's Atlantic Canada, just the same. 1-bedroom is about $875. That look nice. A 2-bedroom is $1,293. In New Brunswick, another Atlantic province, Fredericton and Moncton are the two major cities. In Fredericton, it is about $850 for a 1-bedroom and $1,712 for a 2-bedroom. Moncton, $1,311 for a 1-bedroom, and for a 2-bedroom, $1,639. Man, these prices making me jealous. Newfoundland and Labrador, another Atlantic province. So this is in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. $837 for a 1-bedroom and $1,147 for a 2-bedroom. Now let us talk about the other 4 provinces. In Quebec City, it's about $1,400 for a 1-bedroom and $1,600 for a 2-bedroom. In Montreal, $1,700 for a 1-bedroom and $2,336 for a 2-bedroom in Montreal. So obviously Quebec City looks a little bit cheaper. BC saw some expensive rent for a 2-bedroom, $4,078 for a 2-bedroom in Vancouver in British Columbia. Obviously, there are the more rural parts in all of these provinces, but this is the average cost in those major cities that most people know of. A 1-bedroom in Vancouver, $2,600. In Alberta, 2 major cities, Calgary and Edmonton. In Calgary, $1,900 for a 1-bedroom, $2,300 for a 2-bedroom. In Edmonton, $1,372 for a 1-bedroom, $1,696 for a 2-bedroom. Not looking so bad over there, Alberta. In Manitoba, Winnipeg, major city, $1,400 for a 1-bedroom and $1,700 for a 2-bedroom. What I would kill for these rents. And in Saskatchewan, Regina, Saskatchewan, a 1-bedroom is about $1,300 and a 2-bedroom is about $1,587. Why this is important, especially if you're coming here and as an international student, to help you to set realistic expectations as to why the government changed the cost of living requirement from $10,000 to $20,000. This is rent. When I came to Canada, my rent was $625, okay, a month in Ontario. All right. So most people come here, you're renting. This is a renter's market right now because the cost of houses are extremely out of this world. But let us just have a look at what it costs to buy the average home in each of these provinces in the major cities. Ontario, a whopping $1 million. In Toronto. And in Ontario, it's about $600,000. Nova Scotia is about $500,000 and change. PEI, $358,000. Not looking so bad, PEI. New Brunswick, so in Fredericton and Moncton, it's about 300,000 or 365,000, and in Newfoundland and Labrador, $345,000 for the average sized home. In Quebec City, 550,000, and in Montreal, 537,000. In Calgary, average cost of a home, 589,000, almost 600,000. And in Edmonton, 401,000. Now, one thing you need to remember is that these are the selling costs. It doesn't include the closing costs, taxes, lawyer fees, all of that, and tax. So all of this plus tax. This is the before sold price. In Manitoba, $362,000, 700 for the average home. And in Regina, 318,100. So something to consider if you want to purchase a home. If you're trying to purchase a home in Canada, we know that Toronto is out of this world, crazy, yuck. Here are some other prices for you. BC, yuck. No, when I went to Nova Scotia, I went to the supermarket and I was like, why is everything so much more expensive? So everything was like at least $2 more expensive in the supermarket, but I never realized that sales tax in Nova Scotia was more than in Toronto, and that can make a big difference on your bill at the end of a shopping trip. So let us look at these sales tax percentages per province so you have an idea of what to expect, correct? Because tax go up on everything, your phone bill, your gas, everything. So in Ontario, sales tax is 13%. Nova Scotia, 15%. Same in PEI, same in New Brunswick, and same in Newfoundland and Labrador, and those are the Atlantic provinces. So 15% across the board in these Atlantic provinces. In Quebec, it's bordering on 15%. I don't know what is 14.89. BC, 12%, which is even lower than Ontario. Alberta, 5%. Nice. That's the lowest, I believe. Manitoba, 12%, and Saskatchewan, 11%. So Alberta is the winner here, and the Atlantic provinces are the more expensive, with Ontario and the rest of the provinces kind of in the middle of those expensive-ish ones. So take that into consideration, because tax go up on everything and everybody. Now your groceries. Now this is basically for like an average household or like a single person, plus or minus your family members and your kids. So just remember that this is average depending on how much you eat and how much your family household eats, right? So in Toronto, on a single person budget, you can spend about $336 at the supermarket, right? And this is just food. This is not toiletries or anything, just food. In Ottawa, about $315, and this is average a month. And if you watch any of my cost of living videos, a lot of them are on Instagram and some of them are in the YouTube shorts. I'll show you what I get for $150 or $200 at the supermarket, and I typically go to the supermarket 2 times. Okay, so this is like an average cost in Ontario, Toronto, and Ottawa. In Nova Scotia, $484, because of course things are a little bit more expensive there. I found everything was at least $2 more when I went to that one supermarket. I only went to one supermarket, and that was enough for me. PEI, about $466 average. New Brunswick, $465 in Fredericton, $457 in Moncton, and in Newfoundland, Labrador, St. John's, about $335, which is comparable to Toronto over here in the west. Next slide. Quebec, up there, about $525 in Quebec City, and in Montreal, $490, higher than Ontario. BC, $500 per person. That's per person. Per person is relative, right? Because if you buy a bag of rice, it's not like the one bag of rice is for one person, right? And every time you go, you don't need to buy a bag of rice. So take all of these things into consideration, and then just this is your monthly budget. Some of it will be plus or minus depending on if you're vegetarian or if you eat junk food, whatever the case is. Alberta, $410, between $400 and $410 in the major cities. Manitoba, $431, and Saskatchewan, $453. So, you're looking at Ontario over here. It's not looking so expensive now. Ontario and St. John's looking good over there. Now, utilities. Now, whether you rent or whether you buy, your utilities are going to look very different. As a renter, your utilities are generally a little bit cheaper. And if you own a home, then you have to be thinking about heating costs, the cost of AC, the cost of the gas to run those units and all of that stuff. So these utilities are just the basic utilities for electricity and water, right? Because you 100% need those things. So average cost of those things per province, 192 per in Ontario, and that's the average between all of the major cities. $303 in Nova Scotia. PEI, $252. New Brunswick, $199, and Newfoundland and Labrador, $187. Quebec, $199. $431 over there, so in BC. Alberta, $184. Manitoba, $179.40, and Saskatchewan up there in the 300s. Okay, so this is your average utility bill, plus or minus depending on if you are very conservative with your lights. Toiletries. So remember I said groceries was just groceries, but now you have to buy your dishwashing liquid and your bath soap and your toothpaste and all these things. So average cost of toiletries in each of these provinces. Toronto, $150. Ottawa, $139. These are monthly costs depending on how much toothpaste you use, of course. $280 over there in Halifax. $274 in Charlottetown, PEI, that's Prince Edward Island. New Brunswick is about $170, $150 there in New Brunswick, and Newfoundland and Labrador, $130 plus or minus. I feel like we're catching on. Are you catching on to see which one is cheapest and more expensive? You figured it out yet? You're probably at the midpoint of this video. Drop a comment below if of your estimation for which province is most expensive and which one is the cheapest. And if this video so far has been helpful, please give it a thumbs up and stick around. Subscribe to this channel for more helpful videos like this. Quebec, $310 over there, and $297 in Montreal. British Columbia, about $300 for toiletries. Calgary, $270, $289. Manitoba, $275 plus or minus, and in Regina, not looking too bad down there in $148. We can't live without internet. No, so I think what I did for this one was, it's an average, but also it's a low average, right? Because you have different internet providers. You have your Bell, your Rogers, all of these wonderful things. So here's what like the average low cost of an internet plan is, a reasonable internet plan. So in Toronto, you can get like a $59 plan. Like sometimes the $59 plan is on like a 2-year contract, and then after the 2 years, it go up to like 100 and odd. So just be careful for those kind of plans. And in Ottawa, it's about $56 average for the average internet plan. Halifax, $70. PEI, Prince Edward Island, about $72. In New Brunswick, it's between $84 and $75 as the average. And in Newfoundland and Labrador, about $78 for your internet plan. So when I visited Nova Scotia, the internet at the Airbnb was not good. I wanted to upload all of the videos that I'd taken there, and it would not upload. So take that into consideration with internet speed, type of internet, which one is a provider. Quebec, $54, $53. In BC, $79. Alberta, even though the tax is low, internet is high, $85, $82 for the average. Manitoba, $65, and Saskatchewan is about $73 for your average internet plan. Gas. When I landed in Nova Scotia, the gas per liter was $1.84. When I left that day in Toronto, it was $1.60. So hidden costs, little things that add up that make the cost of living per month even more. So let us see here. So in Ontario, and this is not necessarily the price of gas today, right? The price of gas changes every day, every hour. But across the board, this is what the price of gas was on any given day across the board. So you can compare, like, okay, this province is 3 cents more or 4 cents more. Okay. So $1.59 in Ontario. Halifax, $1.64 when that's $1.59. Charlottetown, PEI, $1.30. $1.60, $1.62 in New Brunswick, and $1.67 in Newfoundland and Labrador. $1.70, $1.63 in Quebec. Vancouver, $1.83. So when gas in Ontario is $1.50, in BC it's $1.80, in Nova Scotia $1.60, right? So to see the difference in the cents, them add up, guys, them add up. Alberta, cheapest so far, $1.39, $1.37. Winnipeg, $1.56, and Regina, $1.60. So that's your gas. Public transport. So the gas is for the people that drive. Not everybody drives, especially if you're an international student or a newcomer. You're probably taking the bus. I took the bus for a year and a half, 2 years, 2014, 2015, 2.5 years I took the bus for. Okay. So your bus pass, your monthly bus pass is about this. Now, for the people that drive, if you have to spend gas, you can then think about the monthly bus pass as like your parking and your maintenance for the car, right? So depending on where you are, parking can be like $75 or $150, depending on where you are. So in Ontario, the monthly bus pass is about $156 or $128. Now, students will get a discount. I don't have the student discounted rate on here, but once you're not a student, you're back to the regular price. And this is the average price for an adult. Halifax, $82. Charlottetown, PEI, $20. What? New Brunswick, $85 or $71 plus or minus, depending on which town you're in. And in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, $78. Quebec, $97 to $100 for your bus pass. $107 over there in Vancouver. Calgary and Edmonton, $82 and $101 respectively. And in Winnipeg, $111.65 to the cent. And in Regina, Saskatchewan, $88 for a monthly bus pass. Are you taking note? Which province are you living in? Which province are you looking at? Which province are you thinking about moving to? Now, the big reveal. What does it cost per month to live in either of these provinces on average if you're paying rent? This does not include anybody who is on mortgage, because the mortgage rates are up and down and round, so we're not touching the mortgage. This is for anybody who is renting in any one of these provinces. Here is the average cost of living, and this is plus and minus your phone bill, your internet bill, all of these wonderful things, and average cost of living per province. Dun, 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 dun. So coming out on top is Newfoundland and Labrador, and on the bottom is BC, and mainly because the difference between a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom rent is ridiculous in the $4,000, right? So the average places are in the yellows here, in the 2,000 still as a monthly cost of living, and over here in Toronto, Ontario, on Toronto and Ottawa, the different cities that we mentioned, the major cities in each of the provinces, this is kind of the monthly cost of living. And this does not include things that you don't necessarily account for. Or it doesn't, this is for a single one person, right? You add another person, that's more food. You add another person, that's more utilities. You add another person, that's another phone plan, right? So you have to take all those things into consideration. And that's why I gave you a detailed breakdown of like food per person, phone plan per person, blah, blah, blah per person. I didn't do phone plan because some of them are like, my phone plan is $30. It's always been $30 because I've been here for 10 years. And I will not change it unless something very, very, very different happens. But you can't get that again. And so depending on if you have a $50 plan or a $110 plan, that's your phone plan. So those are the additional costs that you need to take into consideration based on your specific situation. But this is an average overhead of what your monthly cost is, your monthly cost of living is going to be for the things that you absolutely need for the most part, like food, shelter, and there's no clothing in here. So remember, always have an emergency fund. For any help on financial coaching and making ends meet, you can always meet with one of my favorite people and financial coach, Ricardo McCrae. You can click the link in description if you want to meet with him, or if you want to see any of the videos that he and I had done about making ends meet and how to get ahead of inflation and the cost of living in Canada. Because I see it going up and up and up and up, maybe until it breaks and then it comes down. We shall see. But for right now, these are the things you need to budget for. If this video was helpful for you, please hit the like button. If you want to see more helpful videos like this and you want to not just come to Canada to get here physically and be here, but to thrive in Canada, then subscribe to this channel for more helpful videos like this to help you succeed on your Canadian immigration journey. Okay, I'm Christina, your faithful host. I will see you in the next video. Bye.